All right, we're going.
We're going.
We're live now. Doing the show that we've talked about. Has a name, which will be decided on a moment's inspiration, probably in the shower. So welcome. My name is Nate, and I am joined here by...
Nick Hohman.
Nick Hohman. He's throwing the last names out there for the people.
Yeah.
Wonder who those people will be.
I have no big name.
Why we are here is to talk soccer/football, not American football, just for those who call it by its actual name.
Just to clarify.
Just to clarify. Not talking about the NFL or Canadian football. But we want to cover books. And the first book we're going to cover is Bring the Noise by Raphael Honigstein. You tell me if I said that right, because I'm pretty sure he's German.
Yeah, it's probably pronounced Honigstein.
Honigstein.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to be referring to your expertise. And don't say you're not, because there's no footage here, but you have a German soccer jacket on. So you can't deny it.
Now the audience really knows.
Who are under major pressure this summer.
Yeah. I mean, they just got done playing... They just played France and they played the Netherlands, which are two big teams, and they won both of those games. So I am optimistic as ever.
Or are they rooting for them to fail so Jürgen Klopp takes over? Because that's the guy who this book is about, who will not be coaching Liverpool at the end of the season.
Nah, Klopp seems like he wants to step away, at least for a little bit.
Like I said, book makes me sad.
Knowing that it's all coming to an end soon.
I haven't figured it out. I'm the Liverpool fan.
Yeah, but I am a Klopp fan, so I just...
Who isn't, really? And nobody would be like, hey, I hate that guy because he was playing against you, but then it's announced he's coming to your club and you get excited.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm waiting for the day that I come across somebody that hates him.
Right.
Because I will just want to ask
why. Man City fans probably don't like him, but that's understandable. Like, rivals probably say they don't like him. Like, I don't like Pep Guardiola right now. I respect Pep Guardiola. He's an amazing coach.
Right. But as for Klopp...
But I think about City and my blood boils the way it boiled for Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. But because I went through that whole...
How do you feel about Tom Brady?
Oh, he's amazing. I love Tom
There's
Brady.
Another one.
I went full circle, man. Yeah. I wrote like a small article comment on a video that like thousands of people were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Just singing his praises. Just going, I used to hate him. He would just beat my team. And I'm like, this guy's actually just the best.
He's just smart. And he works hard. Dedicated man.
But before we dive straight into it, Nick, I want to know what soccer means to you.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's a big question.
It's a big one.
What it means to me. Well, it means more than nothing. Mainly because I've practically wrapped my life around it. Mm-hmm. Since I started playing rec in high school.
Good times.
As in my 10th grade year, which is pretty late for most people, I think. But I mean, it means a lot just because like it came to me around a time where I had no idea where I was gonna be as a person, and or like didn't have any strong friend groups, or I didn't feel like I've just always struggled with like being enough for anything. So soccer helped me feel like my contribution was enough for some people, and those people happened to be on the pitch. So, and that was a pretty cool feeling. Not that I was super talented. I struggled. I had athleticism, so I was able to kind of, do a lot of running. But yeah, I don't know. It also, I don't know. It came around the same time I was learning German in high school, and maybe that's kind of where that connection is so intertwined for me. I just fell in love also just with like how Germany played at that point. Just from 2010 to 2014, it was just really great to watch. And just like my relationship with soccer was born probably around that time.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just like one day it was born. It was just kind of like in that time frame. It had enough time to sit.
Molded by the German way.
Yeah, whatever that is. So I guess it's just playing soccer and just being motivated, playing as a team. Like player individuality is super important, but like if you're not playing together, like it doesn't function as well. And they did that so well. I mean, I just loved watching. It was just, it was very amazing. And, you know, after 2014, they struggled a little bit and starting to get a little bit of traction recently. But I don't know. They tried to keep things the same for too long, and there wasn't really like a good amount of change for them to be a solid team again. Because Germany does this thing where they fall in love with their heroes of the past and they try and recreate it, and it doesn't
save
work.
Us.
Yes. And he's a coach now, but like he's not like, you know, an amazing coach. Like he's not a Pep Guardiola, but I'm sure he's a great coach just because of his expertise. But the football world has also just grown more competitive in the player and coaching world. So just, you know, a coach getting into like a Premier League club and just making a difference like, tremendously, like maybe Mourinho did, is like, it's, those days are just kind of like a bit mellower, I guess, because you have a lot of good coaches coming in and it's so competitive. And then when one doesn't work out, it's like, oh, like, you know, you did terrible at Man U, or like and then you get like an Arteta at Arsenal and he's like really competing with the top 5. And it's just like those, the ups and downs are just different.
Honing it back in on you for real quick. German culture and soccer, tell us a little bit about what that caused you to do not too long ago.
Right.
We are Lancaster, Pennsylvania people. Just to now say what you did. Yeah.
For those that don't know, I guess, I took it upon myself to live in Germany for a year. The big goal was to get a degree in sports science at a university over there in a city called Bochum, which is close to Dortmund, which I am also a fan, and it's about a few hours away from Cologne and Düsseldorf. But Bochum was a really cool city because the university they have there is very international, so that I met a ton of people from other places as well. Met a lot of good friendships with some Germans, but also like Eastern Europeans from like Bulgaria and all those other places there, like Slovenia and Turkey. But yeah, the big goal was that degree in sports science, and I lived there for a year. It was great. Best thing I've ever done. But the culture there through football is just, it has such a good feeling about it, because with Germany being, you know, significantly smaller than the entirety of the US, you know, maybe if you turn Pennsylvania vertically, you know, it would maybe about be the same size. Maybe Germany.
That's crazy how bad we are.
Right. all these other people playing the sport, and we can't. Yeah, that's a whole other spiel.
Yeah.
So
we don't need to go there yet.
But Germany is just so condensed that, you know, there's a club for everyone to go to and to be able to compete fairly. Because the club that I was at, and most clubs there have multiple teams. You know, they have a first team, they have a second team, a third team, and then usually they have a fourth and maybe a fifth team for like older men, like 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds that still just want to get out and just play on the big pitch.
Sounds like a dream.
And I was just like, wow, that is, we don't really have much like that here in Lancaster. And it was just like a shock, but like a good shock. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, like, you know, people, that's why people who love the game can just keep playing it no matter what. And I mean, with me being myself, like entering this club atmosphere over there, this club was called TUS Karenburg, which is a small area next to the university I was planning on going to. And I lived like 5 minutes away, so I would just walk there. And it just had such a good welcoming feeling. Like if you played the sport, like, and you like to play the sport, like walking into a club and just being like, hey, like I want to be a member of the club, and like it's like €60 a year to be a part of this club. You get to play on the team, you get to play the whole season. You know, you're not guaranteed like starting spots, but like if there's a space for you, you're gonna get on the team and play, and you train twice a week, and it's usually evenings, and it's just all about the game. Like a lot of the coaches, if you're not on the first team, are usually just as players as well, so it's more about fun and just making sure everybody's playing. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty competitive. Like I'm not shy of like the sport when I was over there, so like my skill and athleticism really only felt mediocre compared to everybody else, because I think they just play all of the time. And it just has such deeper roots in just the sport, because like every day it's just like, all right, we're gonna go play, or like, you know, today's training day, or like, oh, did you see the scores from yesterday, or like, do you know who's playing today? And fortunately enough, like some of the, like one of the guys that I was playing with on one of the teams, on the third team, invited me to I think it was Bochum was playing Freiburg, and I think it was a Pokal match, and it was electric just being in a stadium in Europe for the first time. It was great, and it was a whole event too, because like the day of, you know, I went with this guy. He gave me the ticket. On the ticket has a train stamp so we can travel by train to get into the city and walk to the stadium, and that's just all included in your ticket price. So you get free, like you don't get free travel, but you get secure travel.
You don't gotta like worry about it though. It's like, I got the ticket, so now I can get there. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was very, very cool setup. So like if you want to go to a Philadelphia Eagles game, or like a Penn State game, you know, that's where carpooling comes in, and just like huge parking lots outside of stadiums. At this stadium, it's like at the stadium that they had when I was there, it was like a parking lot fit for a high school, which is maybe even a middle school. But like everybody else is coming by foot, by train, by bike, by bus. But even before the game starts, they're meeting up at pubs around the corner from the stadium, and like they're all just like, they're not getting rowdy, but they're just like, you know, they want their beer before their game, and then they're gonna get another one when they get in the stadium. And that's just like, that was, and one of those nights after one of the games I went to, like, it's like, you know, the night doesn't end with the game either. If we wanted to go out still, like, it's just about the good time. It was never about just like, all right,
win or lose, it carries on afterwards.
Yeah, that was a cool feeling too. But anyway, yeah, but a bit deeper into like how the camaraderie was with like the teams. I felt good about playing with people that weren't, you know, super fluent in English, because I was also learning the language like for that whole year. So like, you know, it was good atmosphere to place myself in to learn the language even more. And even now when I'm here playing at other leagues, like for fun with you guys or even with some of my boys, if it gets super competitive, my German words from playing over there during the matches, during the games, almost come out of my mouth. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's just crazy how like the energy just.
Those were the things that you learned that were more deep rooted than just
because
communicating.
It was a part of the thing that you were doing, and under like stress and in the games it felt like survival, but like when it's tied to that energy, like, and it comes back up, not in Germany, it's just like, whoa, I gotta like hold it. Nobody's gonna know what that means, or like somebody's gonna be like, what did he say? But yeah, it's just, you know, if there was a few times where I got yelled at because I was too worried about the offsides call when it wasn't called, and the center back would like, he yelled at me a few times in German, which was like, at first, like,
I'd be terrified.
Oh shit. Like, I know pretty much what he said, but like at the same time, like he was pissed. But it's funny because like, I think there's just more, it's more terrifying if you hear that and don't know what he's saying.
Yeah, probably.
As opposed to like understanding what he's saying, because like it only really felt the same as if like somebody here was yelling at me too. So it's just like, he's just angry that I'm trying to like, you know, raise my hand for the offsides goal. Like where is it? And then it's not that I even was slowing down to press the ball either. I was just like trying to put my hand up to show the offsides and press him at the same time, but he didn't like that very much. So it's like, all right, cool, move on, keep playing. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt very welcomed when I was there, and it was a great feeling. I don't think it has anything to do with like it won't really matter who you are or who you're from. And, yeah, like as long as you're, you know, there to play the game and just follow the simple rules of the game. And yeah, it was a good time for sure. I miss it all the time. I did have a coach that didn't really, when I was over there, the coach of the second team he didn't speak any English.
Oh,
so
rough.
If I had a problem with anything, I couldn't go talk to him about it clearly, which made things frustrating. So I took like a hiatus of like 2 months of not playing, and then I came back and played, and like he ended up leaving because the rest of the club, I guess, didn't really they also kind of saw the flaw in his coaching, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, other than that, like mostly positive. Everything was great. I miss the beer every day.
It's not the same over here.
Like, there's some pretty on par beers I've been finding, but like, there's just, yeah, I miss how good it was just every time, and it was so much of it too. The city of Bochum has its own like gigantic brewery called Moritz Fiege, and you know they make pilsners, they make like different like light beers and dark beers and all that, but there's just something about the regular pilsner that was just beautiful.
Something about Germans that when they get into something, they go all in to a weird dark degree. But it's like, if we're gonna make beer, we're gonna make the damn best beer that's ever existed.
You mean cars?
Cars. German engineering at its finest.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, to go back to your question, I feel like maybe that was kind of what.
It's a loaded question. I knew it would get a little offhand, not in a bad way.
Yeah, it was tough. Like some of the days, like there were, like the consistency to be ready for each game is probably the hardest part about the game entirely. Like, there's just so many variables that'll affect your performance. Like, it's just there were weeks where I felt like I like did the same things to prepare for the games, like had the same mentality, or even like had like an emotional high from like having a girlfriend, or just you know, there's all kinds of things that tie into just how you feel going into the game. And it's weird because like I've been finding that sometimes the like really positive things in life sometimes have a negative effect on the game. I don't know if anybody else has ever thought about that or had that experience, but like sometimes when life is so good and you go into a game, it's almost like, oh, nothing bad could happen.
Doesn't stop you from taking it as seriously as maybe you were.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
This isn't the end of the world if we lose.
Right. And you have to match the feeling, the vibe of the team,
right?
Too.
Especially if they're taking it seriously.
Yeah,
it's one thing if you're just a bunch of people who don't care, then it's fine,
right? Which is why, you know, first when I was over there, I started on their second team, which was made up of like 3 to 4 years like younger than I was, and they were, you know, they were very competitive when it came to games and trainings, and then they took it pretty hard for some losses. And after like a good like 5 months of that, I was like, man, like it's tough emotionally keeping up with like, you know, just how to go about each game and each week. So then I eventually just went down to the third team, and I'm just like, it fit the pace of things a bit better, but I also like I felt sometimes like I would let them down if I wasn't on par with what was happening. And I was just like, even last night I was in York playing at this place called Yellow Breeches with the co-ed team that I play with, and I don't know what was wrong with me, but I subbed on for my buddy Matt, and when I was on, like, I just, my head, my energy levels just were like not in the right places. So I played like 5 to 10 minutes, and I told somebody on the bench, I waved them, I was like, get me off now. And and the guy coming on was like, yeah, I got you. And he's like, are you okay? I'm just like, I don't think so, but I know for sure that I don't deserve to be on right now, because I'm only going to let my team down if I stay on. And that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about when, like, you know, I didn't want to let that second team down when I was playing over in Germany, because like it's all about like that, like how to prepare yourself almost each day. Like if you know you're playing that day, it's like, all right, how do I, like, you know, prepare?
Well,
or maybe I'm thinking about it too much.
When I came and helped out your team the other week.
Right. You did great and you had a good time.
I felt horrible. What are you talking about? I was like, I'm letting everybody down. I can't move. My brain doesn't work. I have no touch. I have no fitness.
No, I mean, but that just goes into this mysterious equation that I'm talking about. It's just like, even when I feel like I'm doing like shit, other people are like, what do you mean? Like, you did fine. Like, it's just crazy how like things inside yourself are just so much different from what actually is other people's perspectives.
Well, I'm glad that I was more healthily upset. Like, I didn't go home and like overthink it. Like, I knew I gave what I had, and I'm always fine with that. But but that's why I was like, well, it's time to start running, because
yeah, I remember you. Yeah,
I'm ready to put in. That's why I keep texting you every Monday. You need help, dude. I need to play better than what I just did, and I put in some miles, and I'm ready to. I know my fitness will be better. It's not like I was out doing ball work or anything, but so I'm like, I need to play, dude, and it's an itch, and it's always just been a part of life for me, and this is the longest I've gone without playing, and playing just that little bit, I was like, man, like this has been missing in my life. And the same way other people express themselves in different kinds of arts or dance, soccer is one of the best places that I can express everything that I am as a person, and everything can make sense at a time. But it's like life; it's not perfect. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my whole body, my whole soul is expressing itself the way it knows how, and it's so good. And sometimes watching can be an expression of that, but it's never as good as playing. But I fell in love by watching, and it was the 2010 World Cup, watching the USA.
Against Ghana.
It wasn't. They lost to Ghana, so that wasn't fun.
Well, I still could have been a good game.
I went through the whole group stage. Like, I was watching every game, so I watched like the England USA game, and saw Gerrard score on us, and Robert Green spilled it. And we're like, we tied? Like, it's okay. And I always forget. I think it was like Algeria or whoever. We were losing like 0-2. I could be wrong on how the scoring went, but then we got 2 back. Landon Donovan scored and Michael Bradley scored.
Yes.
But they had to claw it back, whether it was 1-1 and 2-1, then 2-2. I don't remember. I just know we weren't winning, and we clawed back the tie. So now there's only 2 points in the group. I'm not paying attention. I don't know how this group stuff works. I just know I'm watching the last game against Slovenia, whoever it was, and they're like, they have to win. So I know that, and it was, if it was 0-0 or whatever, we're down 1. We need 1. I think it's 0-0.
Okay.
And then I'm watching it with Ethan, and we just watch this whole game, just waiting, and then Tim Howard throws it down the pitch to whoever it was, and they're bringing it down, and then like Josie Altidore plays in Dempsey, and then Dempsey gets like tackled, and then it goes across, and Donovan's there and puts it in, and I'd never have gone more wild than even like when I was a Steelers fan, the Steelers would win the Super Bowl, and we didn't win anything. We won this game just to advance to the next stage, just went absolutely ballistic for like 10 minutes, and I'm just like, this is the best thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. And they lost the next round, like, it didn't even bother me. Like, there's a 2010 highlight video that I refound that I listened to that probably 10,000 times before every rec game, because it would have, there's another one that I listened to a bunch, but that got deleted. It's gone now, but I'll just listen because it has the moment. I mean, all the moments are great now, even like all the other countries. Like, I know all the different moments of like Germany, Argentina, or Spain, Netherlands, or Netherlands, Brazil, and Snyder's header. Like, I know, like, I've seen it a million times, but then it has that moment where the announcer just screams Donovan's name, and I just know that euphoric moment. I'm like, I want to.
You still get goosebumps.
I get goosebumps. So I'm like, just that impossible is possible, and that's why I fell in love with Liverpool with the whole 3-0 down to the best team that ever was at the time. Like, it was the Real Madrid then, Ancelotti, AC Milan, all those guys are all legends.
Uphold that mentality.
Yeah, too, I know, but that's what like got me hooked, and I was like, I want to be a part of this, and I want to make it happen. I want to be in the moment and be able to score that goal and chasing that dragon of scoring goals. And, like, wasn't the best at it, but I mean, Township Rec trying to score goals, and moments playing Hempfield, and my friend Austin, I knew you met him. Like, they were Hempfield. Him and his 2 other brothers played for the Hempfield Rec, and their dad coached there was always like 3 Hempfield teams.
Right,
but they were always together, and I remember one time at the quad at Hempfield, like I scored 2 goals on them and we beat them, and I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is what it's all about, though. But it's like those rivalries, but it's just like, I was just so uneducated and bad back then. Just like, I was playing on just sheer watch that video and like just try to channel this superpower. Like, there's no like
the enjoyment.
Yeah, it was all enjoyment. There was no like, all right, what are the actual scheme of this formation, and how do I actually pass better? How do I mean, obviously we're just practicing playing World Cup.
Yep.
That's my practice trying to get better, but there's no brain behind the game at all. That didn't come till after high school was over.
Yeah.
But that was enough. It was just playing the game was enough. Just playing a quarter field game of World Cup with 10 people was enough. I couldn't get enough of it. And without it, I probably would have played 4 times as many video games, and it was already at an ungodly amount. So, but like, yeah, it brought this thing out of me, of this belief that I never really had in myself or in life, that like you can do these things that are impossible. And there's, when you want to talk about manifest destiny or God or whatever, like there's something in sport, and it's soccer for me, but like it's been other things. If like Kobe, it's basketball, and he's just like going to pull the strings of fate to like, no, what I want to happen will happen. And I felt that happen a few times where it's just like, I know this is going to happen, and I'm making it happen, and there's zero doubt in my brain. Like that simple one I told you when I was against you in LCBC, and we were like down a couple players, and I had to play goalie the first half, and in the second half I'm like, guys, somebody is playing. I'm on the field, like we're winning. we're gonna win, and I knew we were gonna win, but there was no guarantee Joey makes that free kick at the end. It was a nice one. I wasn't playing so much offense as more as in the back line, just making sure that we could just onslaught the whole half. Yeah. Like, I didn't know. Like, there was no way to prove it, but in my brain, dude, like, it's not many times that I felt that. And obviously nothing even came of it anyway, because I thought we were making the playoffs, and we did. We didn't. False motivation. But it was just like, I felt something different than normal, and then it came to be. I'm like, there's something there, and I know elite athletes, like, the ones that really only care about winning and aren't doing it for a job, which there's nothing wrong with.
They keep trying to find
they're pulling out something out of the ether but there's also something in that. There's no, you have to have a love for the game to even find it. You have to be like, this is the only thing that matters. This is me and soccer. It's like the Flash and the Speed Force.
Oh, you mean like how he can...
he digs into this thing called the Speed Force, just like defies the laws of physics. He's already kind of defining it, but that's like...
Because he can time travel or whatever?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. He just like taps into this like unseen force because of his speed, but it's like... That's wild. It's just this unexplainable kind of thing. You're playing soccer and you just tap into the force sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember any sort of like moments like that, but like it kind of like happens during games is more like for me, like you just kind of, it's almost like your body and mind just find the same groove to dance to, and just everything is just kind of all like those pieces finding that it's the same dance, hearing the same music during that game, and everything just feels like just fluid, just everything just feels
and light. I wanted to say that's why when you brought up this book and it was about Jürgen Klopp, I was like, let's do that one, because if there's any coach that like manifests it more than any other one, it's this guy.
Yeah, I have very good memories of this man, just coaching at Liverpool, but I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't even a Dortmund fan when he was with them, and had that such a good run with them. Gave that whole club a huge identity to. Well, not that they didn't have one already, because they had success even before him, but like
Klopp is the first scientist to start studying the speed force of soccer. Yeah. Like he's got it down on a chalkboard with like all these equations. Like, I can tap into this and we can harness this energy.
This is what I felt.
We can harness this energy like making the atom bomb. But it's like it'll energize our players and we'll be unstoppable.
Dude, yeah, he found his own way to
something beyond a scheme or a strategy, but he still does strategy too. But it's like, we're gonna do a strategy and then we're gonna harness the power of the sun at the same time.
I just, when I watch him like talk and coach and just being like interviewed and stuff, like he just has, I think his power just being able to like this power that we're talking about. I think maybe it's just a variable, or is the whole thing, but like he's just very he's just very honest, and he only tells the truth.
Yeah.
And that I mean, you can sense it when he speaks and when he coaches. Like, he knows no different, and he believes in what he believes. But there's something about that, like, when you... like, either one of us or him, like, it's about, like, if you're just being honest about stuff, even when you're like cutting players, or like when you have to give them a pep talk, or like you're excited because they scored a goal and you told them what you thought, and just, you know, or about anything else unrelated to soccer, just like he is only telling what he knows and sees, and that's that. And there's some sort of like, there's something in that. And I think it has something. I think it's connected to whatever you and I have felt when we play, or like you knew that, you know, that game, you had that feeling, you manifested something because it was connected to just like what you knew and what was the truth, and like how everything was going, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird like brain chemistry thing. That's just like,
yeah. And I think without further ado, we can dive into the book.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good intro. Obviously, if you ever listen to the Jocko Willing podcast, I'm not going to cover the whole book. I'm just going to read some things that I underlined. We're going to go through the first 4 chapters, which I pretty much just summarized as a guy researching the chosen one. Like he was born to do this stuff. And maybe you can help me out with these words here, because I have it underlined after these German words. It says, you work, then build a house.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, you said...
Schaffe, Häusle baue. So that's like what you said. Like he has the translation in there.
It's just like
you do and build a house. So, you know, it's such a funny it's such a funny saying. Just like with the author connects it with like his hardworking mentality, whether it's through this saying that they have in that region Klopp was born, which was in Glatten in near the Black Forest.
Yeah, I guess I'll just read that whole section, actually. A difficult climate, there's a lot of rain, makes this a paradise won, not given. They grow grass, corn, piglets, and people of fearsome resolve and frugality here. An extreme type of Germans, harder than hardworking, unwilling to give themselves an inch. You work, then build a house. Which is what he's done at every club he's been at.
Right. Yeah, that's a good comparison there. Wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about it that way. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of hardworking. Like, even when we talk about like how hardworking like Americans are, like, you know, we work all the time, and we're always trying to make money somehow, and just make sure we're, you know, have enough in the bank to support and all that stuff. But like when I read this, it's just like, man, they like this saying is just like, okay, we go to work and then work some more, and then we gotta go build a house. So, like, that's the last thing anybody wants to do. But like, I think the house, just the fact that they say a house and nothing else, I think is pretty symbolic, just because like a house means a lot. Just like with a place to stay, to be safe, to be comfortable. And even if it's not for yourself, you're also building a house for someone else. And I think that's kind of cool to think about it in that way. But even like, I don't know. It's a very strong saying, and it definitely connects with Klopp a lot, just with like what you said about like how he's been at with each of his clubs at Mainz and Dortmund and now Liverpool. Like, yeah, I think these clubs needed that work and the extra work, and then the house. And I mean, you get that feeling at all of those clubs, but now like the same person isn't there who helped build that house. So it's like there's also a void.
Right.
Which I'm interested to see how that affects Liverpool.
I'm scared.
I understand.
Some people don't want to live in the house.
Right.
Anymore, maybe.
Which is
all
like...
these new players that just come in and just sync together like they were always apart.
Yeah.
McAllister, he was always a Liverpool player, right?
Yeah.
Salvaslai, or however you say his name. I'm not as good of a fan as I once was in watching every game.
Yeah. It's
Endo, harder. He's always been... Oh, wait, no, that was Fabinho. It's just like, I was like, oh, yeah, Endo. He's always been at the back busting plays up, right?
Not always.
Not always at all. But you got coaches like Mourinho who are going to come in and coach some players, or you got a guy like Klopp, he's going to come in, he's going to build a house on top of all the other work you got to do. Mm-hmm. It's something a little bit different. This kind of goes into how Klopp's dad was, he loved the game, and he was going to make sure his kids loved the game too.
Yeah.
This is Jürgen Klopp's father. Norbert sent her to run this is his daughter. He didn't have Jürgen Klopp as his son yet. Norbert sent her to run a lap around the pitch for punishment. He was tough, but just. A man of principle, full of passion. I mean, it's kind of how I've tried to coach when I've coached.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
Try to be just, but hey, punishment. It's time to run. Mm-hmm. It's time to run. We need to run more. Hey guys, why can't we run the 2 mile in 12 minutes or even close?
Because it wasn't playing.
Yeah, it's not fun. I just took Vinny for a run the other week because I was over and Gabby asked me to, and he did it. He got through. I don't know if he went through 2 miles, but it was just a short run. But we went up the hills in this neighborhood, and he was having a hard time of it, and I was just trying to encourage him. It wouldn't be too hard of him. Just want to get it through. We had to take a couple breaks and before we go up the hill. He's getting all the side stitches, and I was like, man, I remember when I forgot side stitches were a thing. I haven't got one in a long time. But just, I don't know. This kind of determines how much you love the game, though. But like, I didn't love the game when I was that young, so I don't know. But it was like a tough thing for him. But if you can push him through that pain, then like, it's gonna build him up, and you don't like to see them like holding their sides. Like, I'm having trouble breathing. He's not. He was fine. Trust me, he was fine. I wasn't killing this
kids. Kids like to play dumb too,
right? And it was just like, but you got to be just about it. So there's like that balance that you want to run them into the ground because they're going to be better than me, and I don't want them to be weak like I was. Yeah, but hey, you got to make them run, and I like making the kids run. So I tell my kids at youth group because I'm a different person when I coach, kind of. Not a different person, just a different side of me.
Yeah.
So I try to push people in like a spiritual sense or in like a guidance kind of sense, but like when like people start like kind of acting up a bit, and like I'm just like, hey, I may seem like I'm the nicer person when it comes to discipline, but like I try not to let that coach come out because I will destroy you all. It's like, you don't know what I do when I coach. I'm yelling and making them run and do push-ups.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we don't want that. I'm like, then just stop.
Right. But it's always what you had to say that came along with that justness too, because like it was always like when me and Kyle were coaching together, like even when we had to do something and you wanted them to do something, you were honest with them about being like, just like, guys, like, we just need to, this is the thing, this is the task, let's do the task.
Yeah.
And whether that was running 2 miles in 12 minutes or something else, like, connecting and switching the play, how many times to play it up the field on the left or the right side, like to score, or like whatever it was always just also the words that came along with it too that really helped your coaching kind of have that depth where you weren't like coming across as an asshole. You were just like, this is a guy that just wants me to do the thing because he cares.
Well, I'm glad you thought that. It's not like I'm really getting a whole lot of feedback from the players, at least at that time.
Right. I mean, I'd like to think that I'm speaking for most of them, but like, I don't know. It's also, I also just know you better, so maybe.
I had run into somebody at Crunch when I was still going, who was on the LS JV team. Was the first like higher up coaching job I had. Like I coached a season of like middle school rec with Jared before.
Right.
But like, we both get it, and then they like put like a guy who has like the F&M scoring record to coach the team, and he starts doing all this real stuff, dude. I'm like, dude, this is township rec. You don't understand the culture. We want to play World Cup and scrimmage.
Yep.
It's fine trying to teach them stuff, so it's like whatever. But like, I'm like, what the heck's this guy doing? Like, we don't know what we're doing. That's why we're coaching rec. We're just doing what we were taught, which was nothing.
Which isn't always.
So I don't count that so much. I say that JV assisting Angela was the first, like, okay, like there's some pressure here and I'm overwhelmed and I have no idea what I'm doing. Angela just asked me and now I'm here. But I ran into him and we were talking a little bit, and you know, he was telling me, he's like, man, that was some of the favorite times of me playing soccer. And I never felt successful after I was done there. So that meant a lot to me to hear that, even if maybe I didn't teach them so much tactically, because I wasn't able to articulate it so much until after I started with you guys at Lancaster Elite.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how that even the smallest percentages still matter that much.
But yeah, just like helping manifest that maybe like this game's fun and we should enjoy it, and if you had a good time, even if you know, like my main job was motivational speaking, I guess at that time, like let's go.
That's where it came from.
Yeah, but that was cool though. Like players, you know, it's the feedback helps, so it's nice to hear that. Seeing somebody watch me coach from a different perspective than the kids.
Right. Yeah. Feedback is pretty huge.
Something
I'm learning.
I never got at Lancaster Elite.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, congratulations, you guys won the league. Said nobody. Cool. Ever. Some guy like nobody knew. Like I just came in and then and you left, and then like we had success. I'm like, I don't need to be told how good I am and be like, hey, maybe you guys are doing something. Show me what you're doing, and I can help you like get better. Instead of just me and Kyle on our own. I don't know. I could have reached out, I guess, but I was just like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, it's
some feedback from people who are supposedly know more would have been helpful.
Yeah, feedback is important in a lot of ways, and I'm learning that. Well, I'm becoming more aware of that now that I coach 8-year-olds. Yeah. And feedback to them and to the parents is it's maybe even has more emphasis, because like the parents are new, being parents,
right?
The kids are new to the world and to soccer, and some of them haven't even played travel before. So it's, you know, when you're not giving feedback, and when you are, it's just like, it's important to just, you got to let them know what you see, because like they're entrusting you with your eyes and your know-how. And
very true.
And yeah, you have to set the right feedback standards right from the get-go, and that was something I didn't really realize when I went into it. But now I know, and it's just a matter of, you know, if you know, it's tough, because like even when you want to, you still got to say the things that you might not want to say. That's a huge side of feedback.
For sure. Just going back to the book here. His sister was released from duty. All of my dad's sporting focus shifted immediately onto the boy. I was relieved from practicing headers with the pendulum, allowed to take up ballet and athletics instead. Jürgen's birth was my good fortune, really. He set me free. He set me free, too. Set us all free.
It's funny because I think, you know, when Raphael, you know, interviewed Klopp's sister and said that, it's pretty impressive to me that she remembers it in such a powerful way. Just like, yeah, when he was born, like, he set me free. Like, it was something I didn't want to do. And all of a sudden, like, their dad Norbert gets the son that he wanted. And that was just like, I don't know. It's funny how life just kind of changes that way for people. And just like, you know, Klopp is a blessing, but he's, you know, I don't know. I don't think he realizes sometimes the things that he does to the world, I guess.
Probably not.
I mean, he gets a book written about him, and it's just, I don't know. It's just, if I was him in where he's at, it's just like, would I even have time to think about that stuff? Or like, if I did, would it feel overwhelming? Would it change my mind about things? It's just wild, man. It's wild. But yeah, Norbert sounded like a hard dad, but
thick-fingered German worker.
Yeah, he didn't sound cruel though.
Right. So now Klopp is playing for Mainz?
Mainz, yeah.
Mainz is how you say it. I told everybody that I wanted to coach with a sense of understanding of a back four. Somebody who could practice it, who could teach the players. All of a sudden, I get a call from Krautzun. Don't know if I'm saying these names correctly. I have to be honest, I hadn't thought of him at all. He'd been at Kaiserslautern. You please correct me at any point. Kaiserslautern?
What page?
Page 7. I'm right around the middle there. He'd been at Kaiserslautern before. It hadn't really worked out for him there, and I had a feeling there was no point. But he kept on talking and talking until he convinced me to meet him. So I went to see him in Wiesbaden. He proceeded to explain everything about the back four in great detail to me, and I thought, fuck me, he really does know his stuff after all. I've seen so much of Frank's training that I knew exactly what the specific exercises had looked like. So I appointed him as coach. About 2 weeks later, Klopp came to me and said that Krautzun had called him the month before. He wanted to know how the back four works. We spoke for 3 hours. I just thought that was hilarious because they were trying to get a new coach in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, this guy knows everything. And it's like, oh, he just got coached up by Klopp. And that's how he got the job.
Yep.
Which is insane. I just thought that was amazing. Just kind of going into what we'll get into more, that like Klopp knew exactly what was going on while he was a player too.
Yeah, and it had a lot to do with his influences, like even as a player. Like, he was going to the university in Frankfurt for a sports science degree as well, and that he was also playing at Mainz. So it's that's quite a commute, by the way. That's a very far distance between the two. But he learned a lot from his influence, who was Wolfgang Frank, who was also a coach. I'm pretty sure he started at Mainz, but anyway, he kind of, like, Klopp seemed like he was paying attention.
Right.
So like he's like, oh, this works. Like, but then like, you know, he's a player, so like he can't dictate how they play in the future.
Right.
So that when this guy comes along, he talks to Klopp, explains the back four. It's just like then it's like who has who's been paying attention to how things work and like how football is developing and like how do teams evolve with that, or do they stick with what they've always been doing in Mainz and Klopp, and we're able to kind of do things a bit differently? And then, you know, the chapter goes into like, oh, like, you know, they had to fire the coach at Mainz, and then they
right, yeah, they're firing this. The guy just read about is they're firing him, and he was explaining why he was even there,
right,
to begin with, because he said they won the first game, and then it went downhill after that guy was there.
Right.
So he's trying to figure out, what are we gonna do? I want to play this style. I can't find anybody, and then Heidel has the amazing idea, and he sits Klopp down. Klopp still didn't know what I was getting at. Then I said, what do you think about us coaching ourselves? Mm-hmm. Someone has to front it, and that should be you. There was a silence on the other side of the line for maybe 3 or 4 seconds. Then he said, great idea, let's do it.
Yeah. I thought that was such a Klopp thing to say. He's like, if there was a doubt in his mind, it was one of the 4 seconds in that pause on the phone. And then he was like, yeah, let's do it. It sounds great. I think it's just because like he feels like he definitely knows what he's talking about, you know, even as a player. Mm-hmm. Just I think he's also being very opportunistic and just like, you know, this might be the thing that helps the team get better. And I think that is the only thing he ever really thinks about when it comes to...
I didn't highlight the section right under it, but I think I'm going to read it as well because it kind of speaks into like why he was picked.
Yeah.
Heidel called Captain Daimo Wach, maybe, the goalkeeper. Kloppo was the real captain, but Daimo had the armband. Dietmar Constantini, the coach prior, had taken the armband from Klopp because he always complained about tactics. So this guy was outspoken about how things were being handled and seeming how the club has been going. It hasn't been going well, so he may have had a point. Mm-hmm. He was into tactics unlike any other player. He spent a lot of time thinking about it. Constantini had also taken him out of the team for a spell. Kloppo on the bench. That doesn't work at all. It's funny when he complains about players complaining today. You should have seen him then. The old man.
There are clips of him
when he was a player.
YouTube. Yeah.
Just right. That's how it always goes. Like, you forget how you were, and then you hear this guy complain. You're like, shut up, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing when they know what they're talking about too, because like if the guy complaining knows what he's talking about, then it's just like, well,
I complain playing rec all the time.
You should have coached.
Yeah, but I don't think I was there yet in terms of actually knowing anything. I knew something was wrong, and that was the extent of what I was right about. Anything in your footnotes so far at all?
Well, just that Klopp, just the matter of fact that the rest of the team was kind of like when Klopp and Heidel told the rest of the team and eventually the club, they were just kind of on board with it.
Yeah. I have that in here. We'll get to that.
But like not in the sense like they were like, oh yeah, like this is a great idea. They were just like, all right, let's do it. See what happens.
We'll buy in. Let's just buy in.
Because, you know, I think it said it somewhere in this chapter, but like it's like he was like Heidel was doing so much of like the mainstream things to do when you need to find a new coach. And then when that's when he was like, maybe I need to switch it up and do something against the grain.
Credit to Heidel.
And that was it. And that's where, like, I just thought that was great. I mean, it's just like, when you have an idea that goes against the grain of what you're doing, it always seems like a bad idea.
Yeah.
But then when it works out, I'm just like, it's how to, I guess that's what's called, like, out of the box thinking.
Yeah. And if it didn't work, he probably would have got fired.
Right.
But that's how it goes.
And that was a huge risk. And I just think that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. This is at a press conference to announce what they have done. They all thought we would appoint the assistant coach as caretaker manager, but I don't think we even had an assistant manager at the time. So I said, Kloppo will be the coach here. The whole table roared with laughter. They all cracked up. They took the piss out of us the next day in the papers. People believe that everybody cheers Klopp all the time, but he wasn't the Klopp of today. He was the Klopp of then. He was a player. He didn't have a professional coaching badge. He had studied sports science. And then going into what you were talking about, I mean, I think anybody would laugh at that. Like,
yeah, like one of the players is gonna coach. Yeah, it seems.
I can't even remember that happening. I don't think that's ever happened. There's been a few cases in like NBA, NFL where a recently retired coach is from the team and he coaches, and it doesn't last very long, but not like, no, this guy's playing right now. But yeah, you said like they kind of accepted him. So the squad was surprised as the journalists that Klopp was the new boss. All of a sudden, there's Kloppo in the meeting room addressing us as coach. Former FSV midfielder Sandro Schwartz remembers, he was still one of us. Really, you didn't have to address him formally or keep your distance. He had a natural authority, but we were still close, and he followed through on things. Mm-hmm. The team didn't mind because we were in such difficulties in the relegation fight. But yeah, like and that's just, you can see it now in Liverpool, and if you go back and watch the different clubs of that, you don't have to dress him formally. People they feel like they can approach him. He's always described as like a father kind of figure. Mm-hmm. He's enjoying your success probably more than you. He's just there. He's just there for you. And they were already getting that vibe from, because they played with him, so they know him. And he just continued that as if, Klopp would probably go in the field if he was allowed to, if like everybody else was hurt and he had to sub in. Like he's probably has that mentality. Obviously he can't now, but like he considers himself like in the players group. Yeah. I'm just the guy who gives out the orders, but I'm with you. And I've mentioned, the style of this being like how Jocko goes through books, and I only bring that up again because of how many books I've listened to him cover about like military leaders. And most of the ones that when he tells of books like that go into like the ground war, like foot soldiers that you'll never hear about, and successful like non-commissioned officers, or even ones that kind of went high up and still remained. They just remained one of the boys. Yeah. It was the ones that just, this guy would just walk around and just go into the foxholes with guys and talk to him when he like didn't need to be out there. Like he was one of the boys. Like he was a Marine, and then as he kept promoted, like, I know you're always a Marine. Like, you're not out of the Marines, but like he was never not a Marine grunt. Just in there, he's one of you. I'm out there in the crap. Oh, they're giving me nice stuff. All right, I don't need to live better than all the other guys. Like, I'm with them. And that has such tremendous power as like a leadership ability to just be approachable and be in there with them.
Yeah, I think that's a huge like characteristic to have as a coach. Just like, it's like you're trying, like, he doesn't want there to be any difference in rank. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like everybody's equal. Like, everybody doesn't need to be, you know, like it changes things when you have a coach or a player that thinks they're more than everybody else on the team, and it's just it changes the mentality. I don't know. It's and when you have military leaders or like Klopp utilizing this, or like even just manifesting this style of things, that he's just one of the boys, like you said, it's just it has a really good positive power over like a group. And just because like there's somebody that's going to be honest and truthful with you about that stuff, and it's just that's like the necessary piece for that stuff to work. I think it's hard because not everybody, you know, is looking. Everybody's always looking to. I feel like, at least for me, everybody's. All right, not everybody, but like there's a lot of people out there that are always comparing each other, comparing themselves to everybody else on like life or whatever, or like how they play compared to this other guy, or like you don't have that comparing negativity when you have a team where it's just like we're all giving our best and that's it. And it's a really, really, really powerful thing, I think. Klopp has been doing it for a while.
That just really made me even more scared for one individual player for Liverpool.
Yeah, who?
Darwin Núñez.
Yeah.
Because that guy, as much as people give him crap because he hits the bar and misses sitters, has had a really impactful season. I think he's in double-digit goals and double-digit assists right now. And I'm like, you got to have faith in this guy. Like, keep building him up, because if he starts putting him in, the amount of chances he has, like he could score hauling numbers. And I think he can do that because he's at a young enough age where he hasn't come into his full prime mentally yet.
Yeah, he's only like 20, right?
But now I'm like, nah, he's a little older than that, I think. Maybe like 23.
Yeah,
but still, but I'm like, and it just dawned on me, him specifically, I'm like, Klopp's leaving. No, he needs you. You better not. You better mentor this guy from the phone. just to
you know
do
he
us
will,
a
though.
Solid. Like, oh,
you know he will.
This guy needs the Kloppo, man.
Kloppo will be around for his players even after he leaves, just not in the same chair.
Oh, man. God help the guy who replaces him. Hopefully Liverpool will learn from what Man United did when they should have just let, what's his name, coaching West Ham right now?
David Moyes.
Yeah. Give the man some time. He's replacing Alex Ferguson. Like, it's not going to happen overnight.
No.
And look at the guys. It's actually a decent coach. Who would have thought?
West Ham.
So I hope if we get a guy who actually has, like, he is a good coach. It's probably not going to go as well right away. The same way you gave Klopp time to build the house, you're going to have to let this guy remodel the house. He's going to have to remodel it. He can't just do it the exact same, but it's going to be the same house because, you know, Dortmund's house is still there, but coach has got to go in there and remodel it a little bit.
Yeah, it's crazy to even just see after a while there, like the void at Dortmund after he left was just so obvious.
Yeah, but like the fans have carried it on.
Yeah, for sure.
That's like one of the beautiful things, that like the house is still standing. If you've seen the goal that Liverpool scored, that Klopp ran onto the field and hugged Alisson, one of my favorite moments. This isn't exactly like that, but he's always been this guy. So this is a big game for relegation survival. I have to honestly say we played them off the park. We won 1-0, but they never got near our goal. They couldn't deal with our system at all. The people in the stadium went berserk. Those in the main stand had a particularly good time. They saw a Mainz coach behaving like the 12th man, effectively playing the game from the touchline. Heidel adds, the stand only held 1,000 people at the time, but they were in stitches laughing about the guy down below. I don't even know where he ran to when we scored. Maybe he was even sent off by the referee. He hasn't on this occasion. It was all very, very special. But you have to say this, that was his birth, and he was on his way, and has remained that guy to this day, which is, now you know, like, that's who he was. He's not faking it.
Oh, yeah, 100%. That's what I like about him, man. He just stays true to himself. Literally
the biggest fan of the team beyond fans.
Man, that's something I just revel into. Just like I am just excited when my players just have success. I could care less about what it does for me, or like, you know, what anybody else thinks. Just like, as if my players are doing, if they're going all in, I just like, I get excited about their success, and it just helps me, like, just know that I'm doing things right. But I also, like, you know, I'm not as I have many more insecurities than Klopp probably possesses none. But it's just like, when that stuff finally chimes in, and like, I can see and be happy for my players, like, it's all I ever want. And I think for a lot of the players that I've coached, it's just, I always come off as like calm and stoic personality with a monotone voice, and just never really excited about anything. But there's been a lot of moments where players have caught me like being energetic and just excited, is just when players are actually doing, like, just for one, they're enjoying themselves out on the pitch, but they're having success in the game. Like, they're making the other team fucking fight, man. Like, just like a 1-0 victory, man. Like, that is just, you know, that game's got to be pretty gritty or very lucky, and it's just, it's hard to be like, I don't know. I don't want to be overly passionate where it's just like, oh, like, he's just really emotional and just like, you know, gets too into it.
I've been really like listening to this video over and over again while I run. If you ever seen the Leon Edwards fight against Usman for his welterweight title, whatever weight class he's in, there's a famous one of his guys on his coaching staff on the side was giving him like you know, the in between round talk.
Yeah.
And all the rounds get spliced together with like the Rocky music.
Yeah.
Because this guy's just giving it, and the guy's nickname was Rocky, which is hilarious.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he just, you know, he came from nothing and now it's fighting. The whole story is pretty crazy. But he's like getting at him, and it really goes well if you watch the video of just like the words that he's saying. Like, he's really like laying into him to like just try, because he knows him, and the way he calls him out is just like, it galvanizes me when I hear it. But I listened to they interviewed that coach who was talking about it, and he was like, I didn't want him, I wanted him to, if he was going to go out, because he was losing. This guy was losing like probably 3-1 in rounds. So
wow,
like,
okay, yeah.
So if the 5th round plays out, he's going to lose the decision. Like, he was up front, like, he's like, dude, you're 2 down. Like, you got to pull this out of the fire. And like, he ended up getting, in like 20 seconds left, he head kicks the guy and wins.
Oh my God.
Right? It's crazy. But when the coach was saying, like, I wanted him to go out on his shield if he was going to go out. So like, that's like where that passion is. Like, you know, obviously I'm going to try to motivate you guys to win and do your best, but like, I want you to go out on your shield, which is why I always say, you know, when I was coaching the players, it's like, I want you to be able to look in the mirror and just know, like, there was nothing more for me to give, because that's all you can do. And there was times when I could I would look in the mirror and I knew that wasn't the case, and that I hated that. So I can live with the losses when I can look in the mirror and be like, I gave everything I could do. I was communicating. I have no more physical energy left. Maybe I didn't play the best, but that's like almost uncontrollable in a way. It obviously it is, and like your form and all that, but like you said when you were playing, like, there's all these factors of life coming in and affects you in different ways, and you're young, you don't have to control that. So like your form, like, okay, you're gonna make mistakes. I'm not worried about you missed the pass or missed the shot, but just like you out there on the pitch, like you got nothing left. I didn't not talk that one time. I left the words out there. I left the effort out there. Go out on your shield, and most of the time you keep doing that, you're gonna have success.
Yes, practicing that consistently, it would be. I mean, that's why it's like, you know, I have to think about like what I'm gonna be delivering to these 8-year-olds when I coach them, and it's just like what is gonna like help them find consistency in showing up for stuff like training and games, and like it's tough, dude, because like their attention spans not very big. Yeah. You know,
less and less every generation.
I'll ask them about what we did last practice, and they'll be like, I have no idea. And some of them remember stuff. They do remember some of the stuff, but like it's just really big picture stuff that they don't understand yet, which is why like I have to repeat so many things every training all the time. There's a soccer equation that I help them kind of remember. I typed out some worksheets for them to do one time that we did in like our clubhouse. One of the equation is like space equals time and time equals quality, and I'll ask them about it once in a while. Some of them do remember it, and it's like that's like the 1% that, you know, you are. Even like, you know, even if some of them don't, you know, go where you want them to go with soccer, that's fine. There's gonna be a 1% that will just understand what you're saying, even if those things that I am saying carry in over into something else.
For some people, man, you're at this reference won't land with everybody, but like you're at that age group where you're the Ruka sensei. You know, like you might not see where they go on to, but you might unlock something for later. It's like if I didn't have that one guy trying to beat me over the head with this thing, I wouldn't have gotten from A to B.
Yeah, and having a little bit of faith in that is good, because you know you never really know what they're gonna do or what they want to do. Like life changes so quickly for kids like that go from 8-year-old to 15-year-olds, and just, you know, frankly, the kids that stick with soccer for that long, it's amazing, because it's not easy. No. Soccer is hard, but it's fucking fun.
Yes. And
scoring goals is not easy, but when it does happen, it's the best dopamine. It's better than, like, it's the best chemical reaction out there, man. Like, it's just,
especially a nice team goal.
Yeah.
When everybody's involved.
Absolutely.
It's so good. Absolutely.
It's just wild, man.
I mean, talking about sticking with soccer for that amount of years, it becomes life in other places, and as you were alluding to in Germany. And I didn't know this history about Dortmund. So in 2005, they failed for the second time in a row to get into the Champions League, and they are in $240 million of debt. Yeah. And the club almost collapsed. I did not know this.
Yes. Yeah.
Dortmund is a city that lives with the club. I'm just going to restart it. Dortmund is a city that lives with the club, that lives for the club. Sebastian Kell says. The former captain remembers the whole town being on edge, extremely worried that Borussia could be wound up. Taxi drivers, bakers, hotel employees, everybody feared for their livelihood. It was very tough to deal with for the players, knowing that winning or losing won't make much of a difference. Mm-hmm. Imagine playing in that kind of like environment. We could win, and the club could be gone. Like, we can't save it through our playing, which is all we can do anyway.
Yeah. It's a very unique feeling. I mean, in comparison, some people listening might know the show Welcome to Wrexham on Hulu. That's a good comparison because that club was also they were gonna be pretty much liquefied if somebody wasn't gonna help them back on their feet with some cash. And lo and behold, one American and one Canadian from Hollywood ended up buying the club and helping them back on their feet. And the show is really inspiring and really good. And one of the owners now, Ryan Reynolds, who I've never really vibed with, he always kind of gave me a weird
for Deadpool.
Yeah, well, he's funny as Deadpool.
Some people only can see him as Deadpool.
Right.
They give him that and nothing else, that's all I ask.
Just always gave me a weird vibe.
I get it.
But in the show, man, you see him as a human being, and it's really cool.
For the first time.
And just with it really helps you visualize as an outsider looking into this club and the damage and the hopelessness that an entire town and region can feel when their football club is gonna go. And it thinking about it actually gives me chills because it's something that a whole lot of people for one, care about, obviously, but they commit to. They go to all the games. They help their kids play.
Because here in the NFL, they just move cities.
Yeah.
They just leave. And the club didn't go away. They moved away.
Yeah.
Overnight sometimes without saying anything.
Right. And
that doesn't happen.
Right. I don't think it could, just because of how deeply rooted rivalries are and the communities are. And that's one of the situations where money, no matter what city the team will be, it has to be something completely different. Otherwise, it's not going to be Dortmund as they knew it before.
Right.
Luckily, they got out of it.
The former treasurer, Watzke, would you know how to say that? Watzke. He saved the club through a bunch of business things, which I'm not going to read about.
Well, I have a side note on that.
Okay, well, I mean, if you want to go into it, I'm just going to... I wanted to at least give him credit. This guy did some business stuff and wrestled control and got the club back on track.
Yeah. Long story short, Watzke knew that funds would be low, therefore only needing one crucial change, and that would be develop a current squad.
If we get the right guy in here.
Right.
Which is, then they go, what about this Klopp guy?
Right. How do you develop a squad? You get a coach.
Yeah. Was Klopp able to coach a big Bundesliga club? I told him that Kloppo could coach any club in the world. Heidel's talking him up because he's kind of I don't really want to meet with this guy because he's my coach.
Yeah.
I told him that Kloppo could coach any club in the world. Heidel says, that's because he's got an advantage over his peers. He's really intelligent. He will adjust at a big club. If you need someone in a suit and in a tie, don't get Jürgen Klopp. But if you want a top coach, you'll have to get him.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a case of making an immediate decision, but I know that Dortmund were looking at him a bit more closely from that day on. But they still weren't entirely convinced. Watzke kept on calling me. I don't know how many times. I always said, go for it, go for it. You will never regret the day you sign Jürgen Klopp.
Mm-hmm.
And they did not regret it.
No, he fit well. I mean, they're being skeptical about it was fair because they needed to choose the right one.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people probably reading this book would be like, oh, like why didn't they choose Jürgen Klopp? Like why wasn't it obvious? If this guy was saying you won't regret it, like he could coach any team in the world, like that. I don't know how many other people are saying that about their own coach for him to then leave the team.
Yeah,
like that is that's something special.
And luckily for Dortmund, they were struggling to make the decision to fire the current coach.
Right.
They made it to the German Cup final and lost.
Yeah.
Perhaps it was the most valuable final defeat in the club's history because if they won, they
might have stayed.
They wouldn't be able to justify firing Thomas Dahl.
Mm-hmm.
But now they fired him, and the rest is history.
Yeah, dude. That was wild.
But I'm sure the fans weren't feeling that at the time. But if you asked me, would you take this Europa League loss to Sevilla if you knew you would win the league and the Champions League with this guy later?
I don't know, man. Things are so different now.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, like, when Klopp was at Liverpool, like, we're like, I just want to get this silverware. We're in this Europa League final against Sevilla, and we lose. We're just like, are we ever gonna win anything? it's like he's building the house. I didn't know he was building the house because I didn't really know who he was. Like I just didn't know the depth of this guy that they hired.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just had no idea what was being done.
Yeah,
to this degree. Like I knew Dortmund was good. I knew they trashed Real Madrid in the Champions League, and I wish they would have beat Bayern in the final. Like, and they won league titles. Like, I knew all that. I knew they got a guy who had success, but I didn't know like
what he was about.
You gotta be patient. You gotta let him build this juggernaut, and he did.
Yeah, on the previous page on 16, I underlined something because of like how it depicted. Like, Dortmund had to play Mainz while Klopp was still at Mainz when they were, like, deciding on, you know, who to pick as their new coach. And at the, like, Watzke had said, you always felt they, as in, like, Mainz, weren't that good, but somehow made it very difficult for you and beat you sometimes. Yep. Because they had the mentality of murderers and a very good setup tactically. That whole 2 sentences was just 3 sentences was very my brain had to wrap my head around like his choice of words, because like when he said they had the mentality of murderers, I'm just like, well, that's not something positive to have. Like, you want to go out and kill so many people, but like, there's also like, he's trying to utilize the word in a way where like, when you're,
it's Mamba mentality kind of stuff.
Yeah, like very all in, like in a murderer's case. When you're deciding to kill somebody, you're all in. So,
but like you also have to like look at your like it is us against like
right. Even if the guy is twice your size,
and we're gonna do everything. Like you got to be as serious as somebody who's willing to take a life.
Right. He's trying to highlight the seriousness.
Right, and that helps you negate the stuff of you were saying for yourself, and you know, life's going really good. I don't really, you know, soccer's not really that important. It's hard to get like. You got to create a culture where like this is life and death, you know, you don't want it to be to the point where like it's fatiguing in that kind of way, but like you need that effort. You need that effort out as if I will lose my life and I'm here, you know, Band of Brothers style. Like we're in the foxhole and we gotta
this
fight.
Is the task.
Fight to live and fight to kill kind of effort. But in a soccer way. So nobody dies and it's great.
Right.
You know, so but you need that intensity.
Yeah, the intensity is what came
and you
along
can conquer
with this
some talent that way if you don't have it.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And when you have that mentality and you have a good setup tactically, you know, like that's that's something that a lot of teams eventually got to know.
Right.
When they played against Klopp teams.
And in doing this, it not only gives you chances to win, but he was also about, in a press conference, he says, it's always about making the crowd happy. Mm-hmm. It's about producing games with a recognizable style, he vowed. When matches are boring, they lose their rationale. My teams have never played chess on the pitch. I hope we will witness the odd full-throttle occasion here. The sun won't shine every day in Dortmund, but we have a chance to make it shine more often.
Yeah, I love that bit. Yeah.
So it's like you're not guaranteeing victory every game, but like if we keep doing this every single time, the sun's gonna shine maybe just a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Like the results are gonna come.
It's funny because like for some people that's not good enough, and if the sun isn't shining like every single day, like it's just.
Well, when you do what Klopp has done at Liverpool, I had to check myself on that because when you only have a one loss in the league and you're just like, it's not good enough. We lost the league by a point.
Yeah.
Like, I need the sun to shine every day.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I had to think back, like, man, this was not happening. Like, okay, I get it. Like,
and it's also, he built up to that.
Yeah.
You know,
and I was able to get happy again. I'm like, man, this is amazing.
Yeah.
That I just witnessed. You know, we came in second. It was like, that was one of the best seasons I ever seen us play. Mm-hmm. It was incredible. We lost one game.
It's pretty unbelievable. Just the way he is able to do that shit. And I want him to, as much as I want him to coach the national team, it probably won't be for
it'll probably take a bad Euros.
It could.
I think if Nagelsmann's getting fired, and then with the thought of like, well, the German team, it's not as demanding as Liverpool, and the next competition is the World Cup.
Yeah.
Enticing. It's enticing, but I really don't know the degree of the fatigue that he was feeling.
Yeah,
so it really depends on that.
Just with the interview that I saw that he gave to the public was just like very much like I need to step away for a little bit.
That's what I mean, though. But like 6 months go by and the German team is out of a coach. 6 months of not doing any of the craziness, you might already start to feel regalvanized. Which is why, like when I talk with Kyle about it, I'm like, why don't we just give him half the next season off? Like, dude, we'll just manage. Maybe we won't qualify for Champions League, but you get your rest. You're still in contract getting paid, and now you come back for the next 10 years.
Right.
It's like, it would be worth it, which is crazy.
Yeah. I just feel like that energy, though, is also not something that's going to come back in the same capacity, though.
That's probably true.
He is also just getting older, and like getting older means less energy to do things. So I just understand what he means by that, because even coaching 8-year-olds, man, like it takes a lot of energy. Like motivating like kids, like motivating like full grown men is like a whole, like professional soccer players. I mean, really, how much motivation should it take, though? Because, like, you know, they're getting paid. They play on a great team. You know, they've been playing their whole lives. Are they happy? They have wives. They have kids. Like, how much motivation will it take? But then it's just, like, they have to go out and fight and do the best that they can. And sometimes that takes more than people think. It's, I don't know. I mean, that's why just making sure your players still enjoy the game too is super important, because if they don't enjoy it, you know, it's tough to get them out there and do, like, have them express and do 100% of what they do best. But yeah, Kloppo, man.
Well, now we're getting into the point that changed everything for me as a Liverpool fan. So Klopp is seemingly becoming available, and people are interested. as we mentioned before, David Moyes' short tenure at Old Trafford was coming to an end, and Klopp was United's favorite to replace him, to bring back a sense of adventure to the Red Devils game. Man, only if. Woodward told Klopp that the Theatre of Dreams was like an adult version of Disneyland, a mythical place, where, as the nickname suggested, the entertainment on show was world-class and dreams came true. Klopp wasn't entirely convinced by that sales pitch. He found it a bit unsexy. And that's when you knew he could only go to Liverpool. Manchester United is unsexy. Or at least the guy that everybody loves, Woodward, made it seem that way. I just felt that stuck out to me because I'm a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, I mean, it almost, not to say that like Liverpool isn't English, but like Man United felt like the English club that maybe he wasn't ready to represent. And like, I don't know, like Liverpool had maybe the right history for him to resonate with. And Old Trafford was very like, Man United had some good success, but like something, but that's like, you know, like Jürgen, that's another example of Jürgen being honest and truthful about what he thinks and feels. It's just like, nah, I don't want to go there. All right, we got another one for you.
He also wasn't really interested in leaving just then, which also helped. He still had the bond with Dortmund.
Yeah.
But, you know, another thing that helped, though, both at Mainz and at Dortmund, the crowds belted out passable versions of You'll Never Walk Alone, conjuring up fervent atmospheres that took conscious inspiration from idealized English traditions. I like what we in Germany call, I should have asked you to turn to page 25 first.
Sorry.
Englischer football?
I actually had this underlined.
Englischer football, is that how you say that?
Englischer Fußball, yeah.
Yeah, Englischer Fußball. Rainy day, heavy pitch, everybody is dirty in the face, and they go home and can't play for the next 4 weeks, he said to The Guardian in 2013. That year, his young Dortmund team had gate-crashed Europe's elite competition, bursting all the way to the final of the Champions League, while he was wearing a baseball cap that had the word Puller
Yeah.
imprinted on it. Ruhr area slang for somebody playing football the old-fashioned way, on a Sunday morning, on a lawn, the basics, loving the game.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not, I mean, whether or not he came to Liverpool or not, like, that's my guy. This is everything that I love about the game is the way that he talks about it and the way that he conducts himself. And it's why it's hard to find somebody who would actually not like him if you just peel back the fact that he's coaching your rival.
Mm-hmm.
He's the, you know, it was the special one compared to he is the normal one. I'm just a guy. I'm just a normal guy.
He's just the Pula, the guy that likes to be played football the old-fashioned way.
And I know Dortmund wasn't doing as well, and that's why like the bond started to break, and I think he probably started to feel like, I don't want to let these guys down, probably mixed with, you know, the call of the big clubs coming in all over again.
Yeah.
But I feel like if they were doing really well, still like galvanized at the top, winning the league, I don't think he would have left. So it was probably another one of those things where Dortmund's form was the best thing that happened to Liverpool.
Yeah. I would say that even if maybe they won the final against Bayern, that he's probably would have left, because he's also trying to Liverpool. He's also, I turned that into a verb. He's also trying to leave Liverpool on a high note.
That's
and
true.
I think, which makes me think he also would have done the same then. Because even when he left Mainz, it wasn't like, oh, he lost this game, so now we're going to get rid of him.
True.
So he's always kind of had like a similar exit. So I'm thinking like maybe he probably would have left in a similar fashion.
Very, very possible. So now Klopp is talking to the FSG executives. He told them that football was more than a system, that it was also rain, tackles flying in, the noise in the stadium. Most of all, he said, the Anfield crowd had to be activated by the style of performance to spur on the team and vice versa in a self-amplifying cycle of exuberance. Gordon, it was very hard to find anything that was in any way deficient, and that is the honest truth. What I am saying is, it was clear that Jürgen, as a football manager, really was on the same level as a corporate leader or someone you should choose to run your company. I mean, the first part is, that's what I love about how he coaches and what soccer's all about. A self-amplifying cycle of exuberance with the fans and then the team just all in it together. And then this guy who is a corporate guy going, dude, like, if we weren't hiring you to be a coach, you just run my company for me. Like, that's who I want running the company. Like, his qualifications are way more than like a soccer coach. Obviously, that's what he's going to do. He's going to be a manager. That's what he loves to do. He's not going to do this other thing. It'll probably suck the soul out of him in a year, let alone 10. Which what it took to suck the soul out of him for real. But that's why, if people who have been in the corporate world be like, you would have success in anything in the way that you approach things. And what it takes to even manage a top-level club in terms of, like, he's involved in who they're signing and in the development stages. Like, he was running a freaking corporation. On top of just being, I'm the 12th man on the team.
Yeah.
After Klopp had returned to Germany, Gordon sent him a text message. Words cannot express how excited we are. It read, in his reply, Klopp apologized that he didn't have the right vocabulary either, but he did know one word that summed up his feelings. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Which he has continued to say many times.
So now he is in Liverpool and everything is going to go great. But that ends chapter 4 and the first bit of Bring the Noise.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the first 4 chapters, Nick?
Just that I like the way Raphael introduced, like, he kept things, like, he kept things short enough to, lead up to what, well, like, he explained, like, his journey through Mainz, Dortmund, and then entering Liverpool in a few chapters.
Yeah, it was brief. Yeah.
And that's not even, like, a quarter of the book yet. And so there's just so much more to say.
I think it's exactly a quarter of the book. I think there's 16 chapters.
Oh, well, okay.
We're going to do this 3 more times. And then the book will be done. Yeah, but there could be longer chapters, though. Like, they seem like short chapters.
Yeah.
So in terms of actual, like, page turning, it was probably less than a quarter.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that first chapter with the bit about his family,
it was like 4
even
pages.
before he was born, was a good way to start it for some reason.
Yeah.
It just felt...
Right. That's why I was getting this vibe of, like, he's the chosen one. This is where he was born.
Well, it's such a nice contrast to the title. You know?
Yeah. There was no noise before he was born.
So
he made sure to highlight when he was born that he was screaming. He was screaming, brother.
Yeah.
He's just loud.
They did make a note of that. That was funny.
No, man, it's a great read, and he started to ignite my appetite for reading, and I purposely had to hold myself back from reading more because I didn't want to have more of the book in my brain to discuss each one. I wanted to be, I read 4 more, so that's what's in my head. Read 4 more, that's what's in my head. So I am excited. So this is part 1 of 4 parts of us talking about Bring the Noise. Thank you for listening to whatever this podcast is called.
Yeah, thanks guys for listening. Episode 1.
Okay, bye.
Bye.